More and more guys are becoming disenfranchised. And it's a weird thing to really witness because I believe that this is something that's new in society. I believe this is something that's new in interpersonal dynamics, interpersonal relationships between men and women. And it is related to the red pill, but I don't think it's because of the red pill. And I don't think the red pill really is the advent of anything. Rather, the red pill is simply the explanation of things that are already going on, if that makes sense. The red pill is simply just men talking about their experiences. The red pill is for men. It's not for women. Women are not red pilled. Let's get that out of the way, first of all. Women are not red-pilled. Women have nothing to do with the red pill, aside from being the causation and definition and truth of things that we talk about, our experiences. Women are often at the center of our experiences within the red pill. But women are not, most women themselves are not red-pilled. Like 98% of them are not red-pilled. A few are occasionally, and I will say that. I've had my doubts in the past. I really have. I've had my doubts in the past to whether women could ever be red-pilled, could ever be a proponent of the truth. Meaning, could women really ever support men in such a way that they will out other women and tell the truth about other women? I really doubted that maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I really doubted that. Since then, I've seen a few. Since then, I've seen some women who are I wouldn't say coming over to men's side, but I would say some women who admit the truth. Feminism, modern feminism is full of crap. So many women today are damaged, toxic, full of crap, right? So many women today are jaded, messed up, toxic, hurting men, gaslighting men. The list goes on, right? I've seen women come out and say that in the last few years. I think what we're experiencing in 2021 is a blossoming, for lack of a better word, of the truth, of men coming out and saying, hey, this has hurt me. I'm hurt by this. This is something that has affected me. This is something that is what I'm experiencing. I'm going to talk about my experience, right? And in addition to this, I see so many men actually, as opposed to, and again, I'm only in my 30s. I don't have a huge reference point, but I know men in the 90s. I didn't hear about this kind of stuff. I was around in the 90s. I was around in the 2000s. I didn't hear about this kind of stuff. This stuff started coming about, and I was there for its inception, really. Or just the exposure of what was already there, with the internet being so popular. I was there in the 2010s. It happened for me when I first discovered it around 2012, 2013 was when I first really discovered the red pill. And a lot of men, and I had this experience, but a lot of men also had this experience where we felt we were already red pilled when the term red pill picked up popularity. We felt like we were already red-pilled. I know I did. I was more purple-pilled. In fact, in my first videos, I first started making videos around 2015, maybe a little, I think I made my very first video like 2013, but I didn't really make any more videos again until a couple of years later, 2015, 2016. So I was getting there, even in 2013, I was getting there. But I still consider myself purple pill in 2016, 2017. I still consider myself purple pill because I still believed that I could find that unicorn. I felt like she was out there. I just didn't feel like there was that many. And I still kind of feel like that a little bit. I still feel like you could find someone and get lucky, but it's like what, one in a million, 1 in 10 million. I don't know. It's just not in their nature. Most of them, and it's not in society's trend at all. At least, you look back to the 1950s, the 1960s, well, not really even the 1960s, but I say the 1930s to the 1950s. It was the trend in society to have good marriages, to keep up this appearance on the outside that everything was all good and right, and to have a good traditional marriage. Now, is it questionable whether those marriages were really that good? Sure. I mean, you know, there's an underbelly to everything. There's an underbelly and an undercurrent to everything in society. So in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, sure, there was still divorce. It wasn't as much, but there was because of the social stigma, but there was still divorce. There was still cheating. There was still people doing shitty shit to each other. You know, men beating women, women deceiving men, and I'm sure, I mean, that because that's human, you know, that's the human fallacy, or that's not even the right word. The human, it's human to sin, right? It's human to error. It's human to be deceptive to a certain extent. It just depends on the person. It depends on the extent to which you will go. Everybody's lied in their life. We just would prefer not to. Most people would prefer not to lie. Most people would prefer not to deceive and hurt people, right? But even that's arguable. Even there's a subculture of that where lying and cheating and hurting people is celebrated by some people, right? But it's not the mainstream. We don't want to, you know, hurt anybody. Of course, you know, nowadays it's arguable. A lot of people do want to hurt people, right? It just depends. I mean, I think the more society becomes corrupt, which I have seen it become more corrupt, and it seems like it's going to continue to become more corrupt, given, you know, how much evil is out there, how much evil influence, I should say, in the music, the movies, the culture. I mean, if you believe in God and the devil, that you certainly have to, you know, objectively say that if there is such a thing as a devil, he's certainly done works in the last 100 years. I mean, Tinder, that can't be good. How evil is that? You could have a hookup at the click of a button. You could cheat, you know, AshleyMadison.com. You could cheat on your partner at the click of a button. If there's an argument for a devil, certainly that has to be in the argument, right? All these easy access things to these. I mean, come on, women are creeping around, men are creeping around, people, you know, stuff is going on. We just don't, it's just not in the mainstream, right? But I would argue that our mainstream culture in today's day and age has become more loose, has become more promiscuous, has become more, again, as Tinder and these dating sites and these hookup sites are becoming more popular. Porn is more readily available than ever. It's free. It's, you know, there's no barring to access to it, right? It's just right there in front of your face. Women are doing it, enjoying it. It's obvious. You know, this whole theory that porn is trafficking is bullshit. That's just another feminist lie to blame men. These women are clearly not being trafficked. They're clearly enjoying it. It's clearly a lifestyle for them. It's obvious. And anybody who's not a total fool and brainwashed feminist is going to recognize that. Yes, it's obvious. Look at the video. She's having fun. She likes what she's doing. They're not being trafficked, right? This is a culture. This is our culture. This is permeating our culture, right? So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing so many men who are coming to the forefront with their experiences, coming to the forefront and saying, hey man, I'm getting screwed over here. And we're learning all this stuff. The red pill is teaching men. It's teaching men to define what we're going through. Whereas 20 years ago, men who got screwed over just had to grin and bear it. There was no one to even talk to about it. We'd get called a pussy. People would say, man up, right? But if a woman went through some similar crap, the whole world would stop to accommodate her pain. What happens with men? Does the world stop for us? No. In fact, we're blamed. Men don't even call the police in domestic violence situations. for fear that they will be taken to prison and not to jail, and not the woman who's abusing him, because this often happens. We are the disposable gender. We are a means to an end. And some men have adapted to, pretend to be feminist. Some men have adapted to be more feminine so they wouldn't offend women with their masculinity, right? That's a whole nother story to talk about, but men are going through shit and no one's there. So this is why there's the necessity for the red pill. But what I see so much is that men are coming out and speaking about it, and it's very interesting. It's very telling, and it's not just us guys like me who've got a random YouTube channel and talking shit and talking about the red pill. It's not just, it's everybody. Guys are coming out and saying, hey man, I'm not getting treated right. This female nature shit, this is screwing me over. And they're able to define it because of red pill channels, because of our terms, because of what we're talking about. We've created a subgenre in a way, a subculture in a way, but really it's not even a subculture. Really, it's just terms. We've just created terms to describe what we're already going through in our mainstream culture, in our normal culture, right? This is what men have always gone through. The difference is now we actually have words to define it. We have words to describe female nature. We have words to explain what we're going through. Whereas 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we didn't. We just have to sit there and grin and bear it. There was no internet. There was no talk boards. There was no forums for men to get on and share their experiences and come up with terms and create ideas and create definitions. Now there is. Now we've advanced. It's what men do. We advance. What have we done since the Industrial Revolution? Since the Industrial Revolution, we've advanced. Now there's computers, now there's televisions, now there's radios, now there's airplanes, now there's trains, and etc. We've advanced, right? So we know now, we know better. So any woman out there trying to gaslight you and say, you're the problem, it's not because you're ugly that you're being rejected. It's because you hate women. It's not because you're, poor. It's not because of hypergamy. It's because of your attitude, all the bullshit that they say to us to make us think it's really us that's the problem, to make us think that we're the toxic ones when really they're the toxic ones. Right? Which is just a really insidious behavior, form of behavior. Very insidious. I'll give them credit as far as like how collective they are with that type of thing. They are very collective when it comes to unanimously, secretively gaslighting us into believing that we're the problem through modern feminist propaganda BS, right? And what else? How feminism has socially impacted social dynamics and the way men and women. So many times I'll talk about the red pill amongst guys, groups of guys in forums or on social media or wherever. And so many times there's a guy, and it's so obvious too. It's so obvious. He'll come out and say something like, oh, you just think that because it's your attitude about all women. That's really what it is. Your attitude is affecting how you view women, and so therefore you're gonna attract that kind of women, man. It's the law of attraction, man. And it's like, it's so obvious these guys are closet male feminists, right? So obvious. Like, dude, you're just repeating the bullshit that they say. It's not my attitude. It's what I experience. It's what we're experiencing as men. We speak these things because this is what we go through. This is what we're experiencing. It's not because of our attitude. Oh, you just got on Reddit and you just read a bunch of stuff on Reddit and therefore you're just repeat. It's like, no, oh yeah, okay. I've never dated anyone. I've never had any experiences with women. Never had any bad experiences hitting on women. Never had any bad experiences, with any girlfriends. Or I'm just this total Reddit loser who never leaves the house. Right? And I just repeat everything I hear on Reddit, and that's why no woman wants me, right? I mean, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, shut the fuck up. If I had a nickel for every time some dickhead said something like that, you know what? And you want to know what? They're just repeating what women say. They're repeating what women say. This is what women say. Oh, you know what? You're just attracting those toxic type of women because that's all you can think about because you're obsessed with all this red pill shit and you're just an incel. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, we're talking about our experience. I had probably 10 girlfriends before I even graduated high school. My first girl, I had 3 girlfriends when I was 8 years old. I've had girlfriends my entire life. I've banged all kinds of girls off of not social media, but dating sites, social dating, online websites, so like Plenty of Fish, OkCupid. What are the other ones? Blender, fucking. There's another one starts with a B. Fucking Bumble. Yeah, that's it. Bumble. I mean, I've been banging girls since like 2008 when I first got on. It's like, dude, we speak on our experience. I've had 3 major relationships in the last 10 years that lasted 2 or more years. Everything that I talk about comes from my experience with women in real life and on the internet too, on social media, because that's a part of real life in a way. I talk about how they treat us online, the type of brainwashing shit that they say. But I also talk about stuff that I've experienced in real life. And so many other men have too. We're not just out here parroting everything somebody else says online. We're not just echo chamber weirdos. This is what they want to say. They want to say that about us so they can quell the truths that we're speaking. That's all it is. It's gaslighting. Oh, you're the problem. It's not what you're saying. It's not what you're saying is from experience. You're the problem because you just get on Reddit and you just hear all this shit and you're just a weirdo. It's like, shut the fuck up. And so many men say this too. I don't call them men because they're liberal white knight, feminists, but males, they're not real men because a real man does not enable women. A real man is not a woman enabler. Right? The truth is objective and the truth is subjective in a way because it's empirical experience. It's your experience. It's your truth. I can't come to you and say your truth is invalid just because you're talking bad about a certain gender. Your truth isn't invalid because of that. It's your experience. I can't invalidate your experience because I'm not you. And I don't know you. You're just somebody who I've heard talking online. So I should give you the benefit of the doubt and say, okay. Now, if what you're saying is totally, obviously a lie and it sounds off the wall, like such as, feminists, when they say there's such thing as a rape culture, which if you just break that term down, rape culture, it just sounds stupid. There's no rape culture. That would be... the FBI would get involved if there was such a thing as a rape culture. The FBI would say, hey, wait a minute, there's these guys who are creating a culture around rape. We got to break this down. We got to go arrest these guys. Just like they do with pedophiles who get online and go to the dark web and fucking talk their weird shit. They arrest those guys. There's no such thing as a rape culture because rape is illegal. It's insanely against the law to the point where if there was such thing as a culture, it would get broken up by the government. The government would step in and say, hey, wait a minute, because somebody would stumble across it and be like, hey, wait a minute, there's these guys in these dark web websites who are talking about rape, and I'm sure there are, and they probably get arrested and we don't even hear about it. Because there's no such thing as a culture. Culture is something that everybody knows about, that's mainstream, such as like hip hop culture. There's definitely a hip hop culture because we can see it. It's right there. Just type in hip hop on YouTube and there's the hip hop culture, right? It's pretty obvious. But you type in rape culture, there's no like a bunch of dudes hanging out in Louisiana who are part of the rape culture. Like it's stupid. It doesn't even make sense. So that's a blatant lie. So something like that, I have to say, no, I can't respect your quote unquote experience because that's a blatant lie. I know you know there's not such a thing as a rape culture. You're just repeating what feminism is saying. I know that's not true because it doesn't even sound valid. And when you think about it and you do a little bit of research, there's no such thing. Just like toxic masculinity. Masculinity in and of itself is not toxic. Masculinity is what built the world. Masculinity is what pays the bills. Masculinity is the reason why the world isn't upside down. Because men being men laid the foundation of the city streets and the buildings in the streets and the legislation in the government. And they laid the foundation of the states and they laid the foundation of the cities and the countries. Masculinity did that. Masculinity is not toxic. Are there toxic men? Yes. Are there toxic women? Yes. They have a problem with male nature. Male nature wants to provide. Male nature wants to create peace. Male nature wants to build homes and love a family. They have a problem with that because they're sick. So many men are coming out and sharing their experiences. We're sharing our experiences, right? And people have a problem with that. People say, well, wait a minute. Because you're talking about women, I got a problem with that. Why? You wanted equality. We gave you equality. Right? Again, it's arguable whether or not women, the degree to which women were really oppressed. Okay, at one point they weren't allowed to vote. I'll give you that. At one point they weren't allowed to vote. Okay. So we gave you the vote in 1929 or whenever the hell it was. 1930, whatever. We gave you the vote, right? So there you go. You now had rights and you had freedoms that were equal to men. Everything else is bullshit. There's no wage gap. It's a myth. Women don't work as much as men. Women are not as ambitious as men. Women's ambition is different than men. Women often use men to fulfill their own ambition, to fulfill their own lifestyle. It's called hypergamy. This is female nature. How do I know this is real and not something made up? Because it's evidential. It's evident. Women aren't hanging outside my room when I'm playing the guitar. I can play the guitar and I've played it a lot in my life. I'm not all that good at it though. I can play it. I'm okay. I can sing. I'm not very good. But women aren't hanging outside my window when I play the guitar. Why? Because I'm not number one. If I was Mick Jagger, guarantee they'd be hanging outside my window because Mick Jagger is number one. It's a bad example. I'm sure there's better guitar, whatever, right? I'm not into rock that much anyway. I don't know the guy. I don't know the main guy, right? But let's just say Mick Jagger or John Mayer, right? Why do women flock after John Mayer? Because he's number one. This is hypergamy. It's experiential. It's evident. It's obvious, right? It's there. Women are like this. They want the winner. This is hypergamy. This is how we know hypergamy is real and rape culture is not real. There's no such thing as rape culture because it doesn't exist. You can't find it. Guys aren't hanging out in forums talking about how cool rape is. It's not a culture. It might be a subset group of weird, sick people who are probably about to get arrested because everything on the internet is logged on the internet. And then the FBI is probably going to find them and arrest them. Like they do with pedophiles. That's not a culture. But hypergamy is real. Why? Because we experience it. Because I've been left because I didn't have a mortgage and the new guy she found did. She monkey branched off me onto another guy who had a mortgage. This was my last girlfriend. This is hypergamy. This is how I know hypergamy is real. Because I've had girlfriends in the past say to me, oh, you don't make that much money. I want a guy who makes more money. My older brother had a woman, he moved in with him, and she said, I'm not going to marry you unless you go back to school and get a better job because you don't make enough money for me. Well, he kicked her to the curb because he's a real one. Because he doesn't play that shit. Oh, you want me to make more money? You don't really love me. Goodbye. And he kicked her out. And he was hurt over that for a couple years. But he still had the balls to kick her out. He didn't say, yes, dear, I'll go back and go to school, because then she would hold the frame. She would have more power in the relationship. She didn't love him for who he was. She didn't bring anything to the table. She wanted him to make more money. This is hypergamy. There's a million experiences of this. That's how we know hypergamy is real. This is how you know red pill guys are not just talking random shit. Red pill guys are speaking the real deal because you can experience what we're talking about. We know it's true from our experience. And women want to, and male feminists, these little sniveling weasels, they want to marginalize our experience and separate our experience. They're doing the exact opposite of what they're doing with feminism. With feminism, they want to come together. Stronger we stand. It's a basic principle. Together we stand. Divided we fall. It's a basic principle. This is what feminists and women have done. They've come together and supported each other over their ideals and their tenets. And they've done it on a collective basis, and I will give them credit for it. Now, what I don't give them credit for is the fact that it's mostly bullshit. Is the fact that it's divisive, is the fact that it hurts families, is the fact that it hurts men, it hurts our society, it's damaging, extremely damaging. In fact, I would venture to say that second and third wave feminism, aka modern feminism, is the worst thing to happen to the West since slavery. And you could argue that slavery wasn't a bad thing because it built the country. Maybe, I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's a sadistic way to look at it, but feminism didn't even do that good. It didn't build the country. It's tearing down our country. It's dividing men and women. It's tearing us apart. It's ruining families. It's attacking the nuclear family. And in fact, I would venture to say that modern feminism is satanic. It really is. There's a quote out there that says modern feminism influences women to kill their babies, practice witchcraft, and become lesbians or something like that. And I think it was maybe some religious guy, Pat Robertson or somebody who said that. I don't know. It's an old quote, but I'm pretty sure I almost got it 100%. Modern feminism encourages women to kill their babies, practice witchcraft, and become lesbians. It's true. It does. It does. It's linked to witchcraft. Do as thou wilt, right? This is witchcraft. This is Satanism. Do as thou wilt. What does that mean? It means do as thou wilt is the extent of the law or the highest of the law or something. It basically means do what you want. There's no God. There's no order. Do whatever makes you feel happy, even if it screws, some people over. Now, some people will say that, oh, well, there's a caveat. Satanism says you shouldn't hurt anybody else. Yeah, well, that they don't talk about that much. All they say is do what thou wilt. And yeah, anyway, Satan's been lying since Genesis chapter 3. So everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. And there's always a little bit of truth in the lie, right? There's always a little bit of truth in the lie. Do women get raped? Yes. Is it as much as they claim? No. I've done the studies. It's not. There's like a 0.05 or a 0.5% chance that any woman will get raped in her entire life. It's very, very low. Not even 5% chance, a 0.5% chance. I've done the studies. I have the statistics. I have the information from the CDC and all the statistics. I have it. I've saved it. So they can't tamper with it. And they have tampered with it. They've sent feminists to work at the CDC to change the definitions of what rape really is. So when men get raped, they don't call it rape. They call it assault. They don't call it rape. But when women get raped, they call it rape, which skews the numbers. So it makes it look like women get raped more than men. So there's an imbalance. So all these young little 20-somethings who don't know any better and don't know how to do proper research and don't have the wisdom of living life very long, they grab that information and jump to action and start attacking men. There's a difference. There is a difference. There's a difference in the truths that are in the supposed truths that are being spoken. What we speak in the Red Pill community is out of our experience. What they speak in the feminist camps is a lie most of the time. Not saying women don't get raped, but it's not as much as they say. The threat is not as much as they want to claim. Why? Because they want to demonize men. They want to keep us on our toes. They want to make us afraid to approach women because they want female supremacy. They want to make us afraid to date. And what's really making us afraid to date is women, not fear of a false rape charge, although that's there. What's really making us afraid is divorce court, alimony, child support, and yes, false rape claims. That'll do it too. And they want to beat us into submission by fear. And they do this socially, instilling all these fears in us and all these checks and balances that really shouldn't be there, because men, it's healthy for men to seek women.